I made this idea 6 years ago when I was only 14. You can imagine how bad this is gonna be. Hey guys, it's Alpaca, and welcome to a video where I cringe at my old series I made and posted on YouTube back in 2019. This series has been on my mind a lot recently as I've been looking back on my journey as a YouTuber. Back before I became a art tuber, I had a few so-called phases of what kind of videos I wanted to make. One of these phases was Gacha Life videos. I'd never done them before, but I thought it could be fun. So, one day while I was sitting in class, I tried to think of a bunch of stories I could possibly make. I don't think I ended up having many ideas. I just thought of one plot and went, yeah, this'll do. The story in question was called Vampire Restoration. There are a bunch of heavier topics in the original story, but I'll refrain from going into too much detail on them in this video. From what I remember, Vampire Restoration was about a girl named Levi after she was forcibly transformed into a vampire by her ex-boyfriend, Leon. Vampires in this universe are soulless and lose all their emotions and just want to pass that suffering on to others. And she didn't like that fact. So she goes on a long adventure with some vampires and vampire hunters to try and restore her humanity. I'll be honest, gang, I really don't know the direction I wanted to take the story. Despite that, I made 4 whole videos on it, and they weren't even story related. Most of them were asking for voice actors. I barely even had a plot idea, and yet I really wanted voices for these characters. In hindsight, I should have kept this as a little project between me and my friends to mess around with. Oh well. With how underdeveloped this plot was, you'd think I want to lock this memory away forever. However, I have a special little place in my heart for these guys. I spent weeks yapping with my high school friends about scenarios my new characters could get up to. Hours were spent doodling them during our lunch breaks, collectively giving them more life and personality. It's a fond memory of a weird time in my life. I haven't touched the series since, but it's about time to rip off the band-aid. I gotta turn my love for them and finally give them their overdue fresh coat of paint. Of course, before we do so, I just want to let you know that this video was sponsored by my commissions! My commissions have been a godsend in helping me pay off my bills and my VidCon trip, which is happening next month, oh my god! If you want to support me and get some awesome art like this, you can find my commissions on VGen, vgen.co/alpacasir. My favorite commissions are easily the PNG tuber models. Keep an eye out for my next video to find out more. Finally, be sure to like the video and subscribe! Did you know the button sparkles when you press it? It's one of my favorite touches. Let's try and hit 15k before I head off to VidCon. Thank you so much for 13k, by the way. Yay! With everything out of the way, let's begin with our main character. Olivia Levi Martin. When I was looking for voice actors, I actually made myself the voice of Levi because, well, of course I did. With her being the main character and making myself her voice actor meant that she's the character the most near and dear to my heart. She was by far the one I paid the most attention to, so today she gets some special treatment. The original story mainly took place from her point of view, so developing Levi is especially important to go through the story. Since I'm changing a big part of the premise, I had to make sure that Levi now fit this new story. I didn't really make her backstory or decide how she was before she was bitten, besides how Leon affected her as a person. So I definitely gotta change that. Levi was a very bright girl, both in intelligence and personality. She had an infectious love of life and learning according to her family. She spent hours researching topics from the biggest world events to the smallest obscure fact, just to ramble to her loved ones on her latest discoveries. Everything in life was fascinating to her. She was led by the idea that we only live once, so why not make the most of it all? You know those people that always seem to be busy but somehow manage to get everything done? She was one of those people. It always felt like she was in every club, every friend group, every class. She feels like a Mary Sue writing this all out. She may have been incredibly book smart, however she severely struggled with so-called street smarts. Her interests sometimes also made her appear awfully rude. She never realized when she would accidentally brag to people or speak over top of conversations to talk about things she learnt or not listen to someone as they spoke because she was too deep in thought. She may have been in a lot of friend groups, but these constant habits tended to keep people at an arm's length. When she met Leon, she realized she wasn't particularly close with anyone. Acquaintances? She had plenty, but who would she call close friends? Slowly, she withdrew from these groups and spent more and more time with Leon, as he was someone she could finally say was close to her. Despite her slow isolation, she never lost her passion for life. Except, With the world of vampire restoration, I'm keeping the idea that becoming a vampire takes something away from you. Traditionally, it's blood. In the original story, it was emotions. But in this new version, becoming a vampire takes one of your core values, your main motivation in life. Vampires ended up becoming a coined term for immortals. While not much is known about the original vampires, it is said that in ancient times, they all sacrificed a part of themselves in exchange for eternal life. While the ritual was successful, they realized something was off. They knew they sacrificed something, but now their motivations felt empty. Their purpose in life was no longer. They sacrificed a portion of their soul. They believed the solution would be to take from mortals to replenish what was lost, feasting on their aura to keep them feeling alive. A selfish act to feed their foolish mistake led these poor souls to face the same fate. And thus the legend of vampires was born. Humanoid creatures that feast on the living, transforming their victims as they feed. Levi, after becoming a vampire, is a husk of her former self. Her passion for life was her driving force. What she believed would be a short but fruitful life now came crumbling down as she realized that she had to live eternally. Since I'm still working out all the final details, I'm going to leave the rest of Levi's backstory here, so let's finally get into her design. With her new design, I really wanted to keep a lot of the original elements from her first two iterations, both from her gacha and original drawing style. She also has bits and pieces of inspiration from one of my other OCs. She really is like a revamped version of my past mistakes. One thing I love to do with my characters is color code them all. Levi has always been red, you know, with blood and vampires and all that. She reminds me of my friend Zayla in a way. They love red so much I just associate the whole color with them. I mean, their Discord nickname is Red for a reason.
They are so insanely cool, by the way. Please check them out.
With that in mind, we'll use it as inspiration. Levi loves the color red so much he'll buy anything so long as it's red. It gives me an excuse to make a lot of her items I don't know, I just really love making monochromatic outfits. She doesn't have the right vibes in her original iterations. Her gacha one was just me adding everything I liked, then her drawn version is just a slightly more put together version of the gacha. Since I have a much better idea of the plot, I finally know how I can dress her up. I wanted Levi's outfit to look like she just threw it on, but cooler? Like she found a hoodie and some shorts just laying on her bedroom floor. God knows I've worn that combo plenty of times in my life. Since I've been trying to add more patterns into the clothes I draw, I look back at my old design for my OC, Cam. They had this cool hoodie that I still weirdly like, and I yoinked this blood pattern and added it to the front pocket because, you know, blood and vampires. Then I just rolled up one of her sleeves for that asymmetry. To add to the less put together vibe, I had to give her mismatched socks. One thing my dad instilled into me as a kid was to never wear mismatching socks. Even a white and light grey sock was a sin in his eyes, so maybe I'm a little biased in my views. She's wearing 4 different kinds of socks, all different lengths, patterns, and colours. I think he'd blow up if he saw her in real life. I think it looks really cool though. I always tried to add bigger shapes into these designs just to enhance the silhouette, so I made her shoes loose so the tongues and lace would poke out. The biggest thing I added to her silhouette though was her little ponytail. There's something about floating hair that looks super cool in stylized art. I'm really glad I thought of it because I really struggled with different hairstyles. I always give my designs shaggy hair. Maybe I have a type. My favorite way to imagine her ponytail is when you think of it like cartoon eyes, where no matter the angle, it always seems to be in the same position. Though, I am realizing now she doesn't have a head accessory. Oh well, it would have clashed too much. We'll just say the belt accessory is it instead. I don't know. Finally, let me just explain my thoughts behind her face. I'm still keeping the original expression Levi has always had, deadpan. It's one of the only things that stayed between all 3 designs. Now I have a better understanding on how to give someone a resting bitch face too. Have you seen the meme of big eyebrows versus big eyelashes? Well, I've always been a big eyelash kind of person, and I really wanted to pair it with these tired, droopy, downturned eyes I've been drawing a bunch. Adds a real dramatic flair to a really important part of her character. Before she was bitten, she had bright hazel eyes she loved to show off. Since eyes are the window to the soul, and vampires always lose a part of theirs, I made it so they lose all the color in their eyes. They turn as black as charcoal, showing how they're no longer complete. If you watched Alien Stage, you can probably recognize whose eyes, and mouth technically, are based on. Her little fang was just inspired by her gacha design though. Coincidence? And that's everything about Levi I can talk about now. I'm actually so in love with how she came out. Might use her more because I can't not show this off. If you have any headcanons or theories on her backstory, or how her future will turn out, please drop them in the comments because I swear, some of y'all have the best imaginations out there. Since I always gotta do 2 designs for a video, I guess I gotta do the main antagonist of the story. The bloody vampire that bit her in the first place, her one and only ex-boyfriend, Leon Reed. Another reason why I was inspired to remake the series is because while streaming, twitch.tv/likeandallbackasir, I had Leon's original voice actor drop into my stream and it just brought back so many of these memories. Say hi, Roy!
What enough?
I was originally going to make a little script for him to read, but it felt a little too different to the rest of the video.
Help.
Well, he's here now.
Help,
Maybe I'll make a small script for a future video.
Oh, no.
Funnily enough, I do imagine Leon as a Scot now because of Roy, so thank you for your voice, man. Because Leon is the main antagonist, I wanted to keep his backstory relatively hidden in mystery. But of course, I can't imagine this series being fully realized, so who cares, really? At the beginning of the story, we can see the tail end of Levi and Leon's relationship. I'll keep it vague because of the sensitive topic, but Leon isn't a good person and is a very crappy partner on top of that. He shaped Levi to slowly become more like him over the course of their relationship. Throughout it all, he was able to passively feed off of Levi's energy, but as time went on, her supply slowly came to nothing. Once he didn't need her anymore, he simply bit her to seal the transformation and vanished in the middle of the night. He didn't leave a note, an explanation, only 2 little bite marks on the side of her neck. Throughout the story, he gets mentioned, and sometimes you catch glimpses of him, but he's an elusive guy. He hovers over the story, you know? He's there, but not really. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. I don't want him to appear often. I want him to be dark and mysterious. However, like Levi, he had a major personality change when he was bitten. When he was a human many years ago, he was an incredibly shy and timid guy. Despite this, he was incredibly protective of his family. Being the oldest, he took on the responsibility of looking after all his siblings, which was incredibly draining because he had no other choice when his parents would be gone for days. He sat at home all day caring for them until a very bubbly paperboy appeared at his doorstep. His dull life seemed to turn around instantly. Every day he spent daydreaming about this new boy. He snuck out at night to spend time with him. He'd invite him over to meet his siblings, and everything felt like a dream. He was perfect for Leon. However, they had to hide their feelings for each other because of their conservative community. And probably the time period, I have no idea how long I want him to be a vampire for. One day, when Leon came home after sneaking out to see the paperboy, he returned to an eerily quiet house. His siblings and his parents sat on the dining table just staring at Leon. His family, the ones he doted on his entire life, now looked at him in disgust. Someone had spread the news of what was going on between the 2 boys. He fled his home with nothing but the clothes on his back all the way to the paperboy's house, begging him to run away together. The paperboy walked up to Leon, hugged him, and whispered a small apology before biting hard into his shoulder. He screamed in pain as the paperboy ran back into his house, yelling that the corruptor was back. He had no choice but to flee into the nearby woods. As he collapsed onto the soft dirt, slowly bleeding, he wept at the pain of losing everyone he cared about before passing out. As Leon awoke, he felt a wave of nausea. Everything seemed fuzzy, and all he felt was a numbing, empty pain inside him. When he tried to remember what happened, a deep-seated anger suddenly fueled him. He couldn't remember who had done this to him. Their faces were now blurred in his memory, and he could no longer remember their names. It was like all traces of everyone he ever loved were erased from him, and he hated that. He wanted to remember their faces so he could make them feel like he does now. That deep emptiness he felt turned into a need to curse everyone with his pain. He looked for innocent targets who were once like him and gave them the experience he had to go through. A cycle of pain that he felt compelled to continue. Becoming a vampire twisted his protectiveness and love of people. I'm gonna leave Leon's story here as it pretty much leads into Levi's. I still don't know how long I want Leon to be a vampire for, so please let me know if you have any ideas. I've been experimenting with different time periods for his human design, and while I love an old-timey vampire, most vampires seem to be born centuries ago. Just imagine the potential of a vampire bitten in the 1970s. Ugh. His backstory will probably change slightly, but keep that same kind of tone when I do work out a concrete time period. Let's not dwell on that fact now. Let's just focus on his design. Like with Levi, I gave Leon his own colour, but rather than keeping his original yellow mustard, he's now purple. His outfit is mainly black and grey, but he's been based on his accenting colour. His purple colouring paired with his new hairstyle gives him that kind of royal vibe he tries to exude. I absolutely love the colour yellow though, so I'll probably give it to one of the other characters, I'm sure to do. I wanted Leon to be in mostly dark clothing since I want him to be mysterious and can easily blend in with the shadows. The man may want to stand out, but only when he wishes to. Leon's design is really different to his originals. His older iterations kind of give straight fuckboy, which worked for the old setting if I recall correctly, but this time I wanted to play into the flamboyant villain energy that older movies tended to have, giving him a really cool outfit that would make him stand out in a room. In my opinion, his old outfit is quite boring or stereotypical in the case of his gacha design. The only thing I'm actually still fond of in his old designs are the pink eyes. I think it looks super cool, but as I said before, vampires have black eyes, so boo, no pretty pink eyes. I wanted Leon to contrast with Levi's vampire outfit, so show the difference between his put-together life and the falling apart of Levi. He's got this smart sweater vest with a button-up shirt underneath. Of course, he's got to have the sleeves rolled up and a few buttons undone for the flair. I also gave him these flared pants with an interesting cut at the bottom paired with some nice boots. And finally, just to add the gothic-esque look, because he's a campy vampire, I gave him these flared gloves that I keep seeing all over Pinterest. Just the difference between how I describe the two outfits can give you an idea on how I imagine their vibes. As I mentioned earlier, since Leon is also a vampire, he has dark eyes, but his eyes have a slight purple tint in comparison to Levi's red. While we're on it, I love giving characters these big old round eyes, but for Leon I wanted to try something different. I gave him these long pointed eyes to give him a more intimidating factor. I kind of wish I made his face a little bit more feminine. He's like Jinshi from Apothecary Diaries, where he has this feminine beauty to him. The kind of guy where you question his gender at first. The best kind. I made a little sketch on the side there on how I might redraw him. Because he's been a vampire for a while, I wanted his proportions and body to have slightly changed over time, such as pointed ears and having longer limbs. His hands are also on the bigger side. Not too noticeable, but a difference regardless. They aren't human after all. And here's the final piece. I definitely don't have as much detail on his design in comparison. It'll be so real, I just wanted to make him a hot, flamboyant vampire. I put a lot more into his story rather than his design, which is rare with my redesigns. Still, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on his story and design. I may not have thought too hard about how he looks, but I'm still really happy with how he turned out. Drop your feedback in the comments, and who knows, your headcanons may become real. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. It was honestly so fun working on some old OC content. I've been wanting to experiment with different kinds of videos, and I've been really loving it. Spices up my YouTube channel in my opinion. Next video will be a video on how to become a PNG tuber. I already made a community post asking for any questions you guys have, and I'll be sure to answer them in that video. Make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications to know when that video is coming out. I want to thank Roy again for bringing back these memories and for coming back for another video. I added his links into the description and pinned comments, so please check him out. Now it's time for me to do some shameless promos. Just a reminder that my commissions are open. VidCon is in less than a month and oh my god do I need extra money. I've spent thousands trying to get to the other side of the world. If you guys are planning to come to VidCon, come and say hi to me by the way. I'll be doing a little cosplay of my persona. I won't take any photos, but I'd love to meet y'all. As I said earlier, I do stream. I've been working on my commissions and playing various games both on my Twitch and YouTube. Since you're already here, you should go and support my Twitch, twitch.tv/likeanalpacasir. It's super fun hanging out, I swear. And finally, I want to thank my amazing Ko-fi and YouTube members. If you want to help support me, you can become a member now, starting at less than $2 USD a month. Members get exclusive perks such as these adorable emotes, sneak peeks at upcoming projects, and a shout out at the end of my videos. Speaking of which, I want to thank AMK Heart, Glitchcrowd, and Kifwin. I appreciate all of you guys' support so much. Thank you all so much again for watching. If you managed to get to the end, make sure you add a blood emoji to your comment to prove you watched until the end. Make sure you look after yourselves, eat food, drink water, take your meds, and do your homework so we can be happy and healthy for the next video.